All right. Ravens +2.5. Big win on the road last week in Tennessee. They fooled us like the Dickens. We loved Tennessee. And by the way, what I did love was I think on Saturday morning we were texting about the Bills Colts, and I loved the Bills. I had already bet the Bills, and you're like, yeah, we're not putting the Bills in. It's weird that this line hasn't moved off of 6.5 all week. Sure enough, your instincts were spot on. So sometimes, like, you win by not making the bet. Meanwhile, the Bills are 2.5 point favorites at home against the Ravens.
And that's why I'm so mad at myself is like I knew as a pro, I knew that Colts game, I knew that Rams game, and I knew that Cleveland game just stuck out. Like games that I should know better. Well, like as soon as those numbers did weird things where they didn't move and the public was still coming heavy on the other sides. That's why I'm so mad at myself. Is like as a professional, I look for those situations. The fact that I went with the public against them, that was just terrible. I just put too much faith again into my system. But so before I updated it, I had this at Bills -2.5, and then once I did update it, I had it at a pick. And basically, my model is saying take the Ravens here. That's where the value is. And I'm going to bring the human element into this, where I just think that we saw a moment there with Josh Allen that right before the halftime, his team was down 10-7. He had the ball on his 4-yard line, and he drove the field and got a touchdown for the Bills before the halftime. And that's one of those moments where when you're looking at greatness and above normal. And again, we see it with Lamar. Those runs he did last week were incredible, but he's still not making the plays with his arm. And I don't think he'll be able to do that kind of running against a Bills team that has a great linebacking core. And the way the numbers moved, this scared me a little bit. It dropped down to 1.5, and then it bounced back up to 2 at certain books. Now it's up at 2.5 at certain books. It's been fluctuating here. But I'm going to go against my model. I'm going to keep riding this Bills train where I just think Josh Allen's turned a corner here. And I really have a ton of faith in this kid that even if we're down, I think he has enough belief in himself and in his arm and his weapons that he's going to play big enough for us. And another game where injuries are a little scary. Cole Beasley, he didn't look completely healthy in the last game, but he had huge catches on third downs for them. And Diggs, he looked all right in the game, but he came into the game probable. And I think that's why maybe the early money came in on the Ravens, because they're thinking to themselves, maybe the Bills are banged up here and we're getting good value on the Ravens. But I just think that the Bills are for real. And if you believe in a team's for real and you're getting under a field goal, you have to buy in. So I understand why people want to take the Ravens. My model likes the Ravens value here, but I'm going to do the human element here and think that I believe enough in Josh Allen that I do think he's going to win this game. So I'm taking the Bills here.
All right. So if you had not said anything about your model and you had not said anything about the Ravens, essentially making this game pick, I would have been all over the Bills. I'm getting a really good team that's got great momentum at less than a field goal with a quarterback who's on fire, a defense that is getting better, a lights out receiver, like great coaching. There's no way I wouldn't take this team as less than a field goal favorite. Except that I look at the Ravens and think they finally figured it out. Like they got out of their doldrums. They remembered who they are. Their rushing game is ridiculous. That's a huge problem for the Bills. Despite what you say about their linebackers, their rush D is not very good. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can back this as like one of our 5 best bets. The Bills,
Yeah.
because we like the human element in going against your model. That is what gets us in trouble. When we act human, we get in trouble. Ask my kids.
That's true. But I'm with you on your Ravens point, but it's still one of those where people think that Lamar got his demons out of him. If he loses this game, guess what Lamar's record now is in the playoffs? He's 1-3. So I'm happy for Lamar. I'm happy for the Ravens fans, but it sounds like you're buying the Ravens team that barely beat a team that I think they were ranked 28th in defense in the Titans. And they put up, 17 or 20 on them? So I'm just a little nervous here about the Ravens, where I did think Lamar played great. He ran well. But it was more about Tannehill just let them down in that game with the Titans. Like the Titans couldn't put up 20 points at home. I don't know, man. It's a little scary where the Bills played against a Colts team that had the perfect game. Rivers, I don't even know how many yards. I think he threw for 400 yards, and he never turned the ball over. He played that game perfect, the Colts, and they still lost to a Bills team. That's what's giving me so much confidence. Bills team. It's like they just took a team's best shot on defense and offense, and they still somehow prevailed in one of the games they didn't even play their best game. So I'm with you. It's we're split on it, so we won't take it. But I as a Bills future backer, I'm feeling confident right now. And one more thing before you even move on from that. If you believe in Green Bay, I'm seeing some books that still have Green Bay at plus 140 to win the NFC. That seems like crazy value to me, where they're playing a banged up Rams team, and then they're either going to get a 40-year-old Drew Brees or a 40-year-old Tom Brady at home in cold Lambeau. So if we're just talking about bets I've made right now for little futures, I think there's really good value. It's the Packers there because I can't see them being underdogs at home to either of those teams if they win. So if you're getting a plus 140 team right now at home and the Packers to win it all, I think there's really good value there in the NFC to take the Packers to win it.
What do you think of the total? The total is about 49 and a half, 50.
Under. It's I mean, this could be if you wanted. Actually, we'll save the big balls, but this will take big balls to bet this under because both these offenses are potent. They both score at high level, and they can both score at any time. They have pieces that can score, but it was a weird thing where you had to get the best of number last week with the Bills Colts. It literally came down to half a point. If you got 51 and a half, you cashed the under. If you got 50 and a half, you cashed the over. So it's one of those where I'll just take the under because I think both these defense. I know what you said it's true with the Bills can be run on, but I just think they'll bounce back here. And against a Ravens team that wants to run the ball, control the clock, keep Josh Allen off the field, that just reeks of a low scoring under game. Where in my model I had this at let me look at it right now. I had it at 22-20 with the Bills. So it's a weird one where when I updated it, it was at 43-43. That's why I had the game at a pick. Like my model just said it's going to be a tie. But beforehand, I had it at 42-40, which I still think totals I didn't do great on last week, but I still did pretty good. So I'm still using that for my totals. So I'm going to roll with that. I'm going to take the under this week in this game.
You say this to me reeks of, you use the phrase reeks. This reeks of Josh Allen as Lamar Jackson circa January 2020, where everyone in the world believes he is unbeatable and he is turned one-dimensional by a crushing Ravens defense that demolished Derrick Henry. And all of a sudden, we're asking ourselves, Josh Allen can't get past a good defense in the playoffs after doing everything he did? I'm just saying.
Wow. How dare you? Matt Mitchell, how dare this guy?
I know. But listen, I'm going to root for our futures. It's all we got left. Because we also like our Bears future is dead. Our Steelers futures are dead. Our Cardinals and Broncos futures are dead. Our Vikings future is dead. We got to root for the Bills.